Hi, this is Ashley Lay. We're back for another episode of our podcast, Ashley Lay Real Estate Podcast. We are so glad you're joining us today. I'm excited about our guest today. I think it's something that we can all learn from and all grow from. This is Jason Berry with Action Coaching from here in Winston-Salem, but I think you coach people all over, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. Wonderful. One of the things that's made a major impact in my life and my growth in business was hiring a coach many years ago, back in 2015, I believe, and it has propelled my business and our success within this business, and it has propelled my personal growth. And we wanted the opportunity to chat with you, our small business community, especially in Davidson County, about what coaching can do for you and where there are some opportunities for you to grow and to plug into coaching, and how we can make it easy for that to happen for you. Well, first, why coaching? Why would someone be interested in coaching, Jason?
I think the key word is curiosity. Someone who's not curious about how to do things differently or better or to grow themselves is choosing to limit what's possible in their lifetime. You know, what's possible in their life, and then business is part of life, right? Mm-hmm. But if we're not curious about what's next and how we can work on ourselves to achieve that, then that's where results don't happen. You know, you get reasons instead of results, I guess is one way I say it. So.
Another gold wall that's on our wall in there.
I didn't notice that one. So yeah, that's right.
It is. You know, for me, one of the big things too is the accountability, because of the accountability, I began to keep track of the goal. You know, it's easy to set a goal on January 1st for the year ahead. But if you don't have someone asking you and bringing your attention and focus back to what are you doing to reach that goal, what are the activities that you are putting on your calendar every week, they don't happen. And that initially, you know, now that is ingrained in me, and I went from being just, I call it a Pop-Tart realtor. Somebody says, show me a house. Okay, we'll show you a house. To actually building a team and building a business and doing everything professionally, doing everything the right way. And you can't build that business without keeping up with your numbers, knowing where you are at all times, knowing what your costs are, knowing the activities your team is doing to move you forward. And those are all things that are key pieces of business, right? And I think that coaching can really help people to grow through those numbers and through and accomplishing those goals, right?
Yeah, the way I say, absolutely right. So the way I describe it, the thought process is, as humans, we're not designed to improve any area of our life without an accountability structure, as far as I've seen in life so far. So, you know, your relationship health, your eating habits, your financial habits, your faith, how strong that walk is, business we're talking about today, exercise goals. The most successful people in the world have accountability structures built around that, whatever element in life that's important to them. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people talk about, and you say set goals at the beginning of the year, but they talk about what they want, and establish that. And some people even define it pretty clearly, which is great. But then what? So it's all talk until it's, you've heard a goal is not a goal until it's written down.
That's right.
So it's all talk until it's written down, but after that you have to take action on it. And one of the action steps has got to be building an accountability structure around that, so that you're gathering your focus and attention consistently to that task at hand, what's most relevant right now. So think about discipleship groups at church is a good example. You can go to church, you can have a great walk with the Lord and grow in your faith, but there's going to be an opportunity gap until you make the decision to put yourself in that accountability structure, that environment of accountability that will help you to further accelerate your walk with the Lord and your faith walk. So that's true in finances and relationships and business and any other, and exercise. I had a lot better results when I was working with my personal trainer than I have in the last 8 months since I decided not to do that, which is a good reminder to myself. I need to call that guy. So accountability structure is huge, and you said something, knowing how to do this, knowing how to do that, knowing my numbers, knowing. So a key element to becoming the owner, serving that role in a business versus being self-employed by the business and just trading time for money, is you do need to understand and know those things, but it's not necessarily your job to do all of those things.
Correct.
And I think that was a good distinction that kind of got lost in your conversation there, probably because we're talking about accountability.
Right.
But knowing, not doing, I wanted to make sure that got pointed out.
Learning leverage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a key tenet that Gary Keller, who is the creator of Keller Williams, that we are the largest real estate company in the world. One of his three tenets are leads, listing, and leverage. And for us, for any company, you need leads for whatever industry you're in. And leverage to actually grow a business is huge, because otherwise, we're actually talking with a couple right now about buying their real estate business. They're ready to retire. And if you've never built the leverage and built the business for yourself, when you stop working as an entrepreneur or self-employed person, the money stops. The merry-go-round stops.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else there. So coaching's another way to invest in yourself and help you self-discover what are the best ways to move my business forward, and how do I hire the right people? How do I take the next right step for me to grow something that will benefit my family and maybe my community and maybe my state and my world for the rest, for long past you and your ability to be in the working force.
That's right. And a couple of things that makes me think of is the founder of Action Coach, the organization I work with, Brad Sugars. I remember him saying recently, I saw in a video, you should get paid 3 times from your business. You should take home a steady paycheck, consistent paycheck. There should be net profit at the end of the month and at the end of the year that you have discretion over where that money goes to move the business forward, and part of it might be using for personal reasons or another investment. And then at some point, you're going to hand the business off to somebody.
That's right.
And that's the 3rd time when you've got the opportunity to be paid, but so few businesses out there focus on number 3 and hardly on number 2, which is kind of scary. There's many businesses that I sit down and talk with, and I'm talking 35 and 40-year-old businesses.
They never look at a P&L.
They don't know if they were profitable until the accountant tells them once a year.
At the end of the year.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
That's scary. So
that's scary.
I'll leave that there. But
it is.
You alluded to it, so that the definition that we use, like where are we headed with our coaching? What's the goal of coaching? A commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So a commercial enterprise is created in a mastery level. It's we got a few steps that we use in our system, and profitability comes from marketing and sales, which is really how do you create a niche in your marketplace. And leverage is where systems come into play, and that's when it starts to work. We want to manage systems and lead people. Nobody wants to be managed.
Correct.
So we have to have systems so we can manage the systems instead of the people. That's why so many people have high turnover, right?
Yes. That was something I'm stopping you and apologize for
go
interrupting
ahead.
your thought. But I failed forward more times than I care to count. I started teams way back in my career, and probably starting in about 2011 with a different real estate company. Tried to start teams. They imploded.
Wow. Yeah.
Came here, built a team. First team, entire team walked out the door on me. And that's back to, you have to have personal growth and understand you don't manage people, you lead people.
That's
and you serve people.
That's not an analogy, that's an example. Yeah,
no, it is.
Great,
and when you learn that it's about serving them and giving them, helping them get to their goals and get to where they want in life, that's when everything changed for our organization.
That's right. And that comes from systems, and it comes from culture. And I remember the first time I saw this was when I was getting my training. And there's this circle, and at the top of the circle, there's owner, and on the right side is team. On the bottom is customers, and on the left side is business, the transaction that happens in the business, selling your product or service. And before you know better, you have your hands on all three of those as the owner. I'm all over my team, I'm all over my customers, I'm all over every aspect of the operations of my business. And looking back, it's clear now, but when I owned the business that I had 2 retail stores, 22 or 3 employees, and I had my hands all over everything because I thought that's what a good business owner did. And what I understand now very clearly is I was holding everything back. I was slowing everything down. I was the bottleneck for years. I owned that business for 11 years. And it's like cycle. And the goal is to create systems, train your team on the system so that all you need to do is support and serve, like you said, serve your team, knowing that they got your customers, and the customers are going to bring all the business you need to keep the circle getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's right.
But when it's structured properly, and it takes a minute to do that, but when it's structured properly, your team is your focus.
That's right. And it does take a minute to do that.
Yeah, right.
And that's the thing is we've gone through several hires as well in key roles. One, for example, is our director of operations. She's amazing at building amazing systems for our team and making things work more efficiently and more productively. And that has made it then easier for our agents and our inside sales team. And it just makes the flow at such a better speed. And all of that, as I've had sometimes not the right people on the bus in different positions, through coaching, you become aware that your decisions, maybe you're not making the best decisions. And, if you look at my DISC profile, which is, the personality profile test a lot of people will take, we have a Keller Williams one as well, it's called KPA. It says that I tend to be overly optimistic. And when I was involved in the majority of the hiring process, everybody's going to do a great job. They're going to be great at this. And I realized that I was the person in the way, and that was through coaching. And my coach would ask me, he said, this last decision, this person we're having to go over, tell me where your DNA's at in this. I thought he would do a good job. Well, tell me why you thought that, and just so much digging deeper and deeper. And then I realized, I've got to have a person that is much more skillful than me, back to the leverage piece of it, take this role over from me because I'm not good at it.
It's there's a lot of different ways to approach hiring and retention, but the way we do it is we actually facilitate that process with and for the businesses we work with. And we call it the 4-hour hiring process because
that's what we use.
It takes so much time to do it one by one. So it's a leveraged process. You get so much more dynamic and competitive level of communication, which is important because in a competitive environment, you want to see how people under a little bit of stress, positive stress, behave before you make a hiring decision. So you can leverage an effective process up front to accomplish that, or you can invest 4 months to figure that out. Those are the 2 ways that works, right? So
we have a 30, 60, 90, and it's a real shame to get to close to that 90th day, and you're like, we've invested all this time and energy and effort into this person, and this is not going to work.
It's not a go. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So that's one of several examples, probably. There's no shortcut to what you have to do to build a business, but there is a shortcut to the trial and error involved in accomplishing that.
Correct.
And that's what coaching or mentorship or education, all these things combined. It's not just one person's going to do everything, like be the silver bullet. But it's not about me bringing every idea. It's about a coach seeing some gaps, leading that that business owner to the right resources, and also helping brainstorm, because frankly that's a lot of fun. How do we problem solve this? But when we need other resources, like I understand accounting, but I have no desire to do that. Right? So I understand the numbers and how they all relate to one another, but they need a bookkeeper, not me, to be guiding them on that and holding it true. So
well, you touched on the part about profit earlier, and those early years in my real estate career, back to, I didn't know my numbers. I didn't know, I didn't keep up even with my taxes and how much money should be set aside and what you should pay every month. All those things the accountant will tell you. We were trying to do it ourselves, got ourselves in an ugly tax hole. One of the things that our coaches, and I learned about this book through my coach, have been big on in the last, 3 to 4 years while I've been in real estate, is the book Profit First, if you've heard of that. And that book was tremendous, and it has made me pay a lot more attention to my P&L. And back to, it's something that if I'm allowed to quit thinking about it, I might not look at it for a couple of months. However, I've got a coach that says, is your P&L here yet? Have you sent it to me yet? When are we gonna review this P&L? And again, I can't. That is invaluable to me, because back to the accountability, I would just let that slide because I don't like to look at numbers.
So that's great. So I frequently get asked, well, how we're thinking about KPIs, key performance indicators that we need to be thoughtful of, and there's no end to where KPIs need to go, but it starts simple and gets more in depth over time. So I'll just leave that there. It's kind of an in-depth topic, but the point is, I get asked the question, well, how frequently should I look at that? And my response 100% of the time is, well, how long is it okay for that to go wrong before you know about it? That's how long. And that's like, oh, yeah. So like, how long is it okay for you not to be profitable before you're aware of that?
Right. So, funny aside, my husband is typically the one now that has taken over the financial side of the business in the last few years. And he and our director of operations have a meeting weekly that they look through that and look at things on there. And they hate it when I actually sit down and take an hour to go through it, because they see it so often that they just kind of, we go through it. Yes, this looks good. We made money this month. We did this. We did that. Where do we need to improve? Okay, we're done with this meeting.
Yeah.
If I actually pull it out and look at it, I'm going to sit there and pick it apart. And so not too many months ago, I started looking at it and I'm like, what is this charge? Why is there this $300 and some charge every month in this column? What is this? And we went back and looked, and it was something that I had signed up for that I thought was a one-time charge, and we were being charged for it every month, and it had gotten into something that they weren't, I was opening the detailed section, and I had spent 7 times $300, and I think it was $63 every month. That just would have walked, it did just walk away, but that would have continued if you don't inspect this kind of thing.
So that's a great perspective. So there's 3 things a coach or mentor brings to the equation. Well, a coach, I'll refer to it that way. Outside perspective, it's education where that's necessary, and accountability. Accountability is really the key to it all. But you're talking about your husband and the coach working together frequently on that?
Oh, yeah.
And so in that instance, you were the outside perspective and were able to coach them on, hey, asking the right questions, because coaching is all about asking awesome questions. And sometimes if you're too familiar, there's too much muscle memory there, like you were describing. Things get glossed over, you didn't notice the dust in the corner, and all these kind of things. And outside perspective sprinkled in there from time to time is really healthy, right?
Right. And it's, when I think about it in terms of what we're going to talk about in just a few minutes, what we can offer young or newer businesses, or even existing businesses that can grow from this, to use coaching, the cost to them is just nothing compared to if it helps you with one little tiny area like that. That's $2,200, $2,300, something that I lost because it didn't look right. And that accountability, I mean, you can't quantify, I can't quantify what coaching has done for my business, because the growth we have seen year over year, every year.
And there's personal growth, and culture health improves, and retention improves, all these things, and those are kind of soft sciences. So what about the numbers? Well, all of that stuff produces a number at some point, is the point. And that's the leveraged, those are the leveraged things to focus on to get the numbers. Small, consistent improvements there lead to amazing improvements in the numbers over time. You know, if you just focus on the numbers, it's going to be a very narrow scope of leverage you're going to be able to achieve.
Well, little things that, you know, I'll give you a great example with us in our business this past year. We started focusing on the conversion rates between appointments set to appointments met, and then appointments met to appointments signed. Appointments signed to under contract to close. Our big thing last year was met to set. What is that conversion rate? What does it look like? The number was atrocious, I'll put it that way. So much fallout. And we started focusing on what are the ways we can impact that number. Well, we've created, you know, here's a warm handoff call between our inside, you know, our appointment setting group, going ahead and adding the agent to the call and getting on the phone right then with those people. Initially it was, you need to call them within 4 hours. Then it was, let's do a warm handoff here. And then it's how many touches are they getting before that appointment to ensure that they show up. So it was, we impacted it where it went up about 27 or 8%.
That's huge.
It's huge.
That's
and then
huge.
It's back to how many appointments do you really need to set to get all the way to your number over here of close that you want to hit that year, because you work backwards. And it's like, we just shaved off an incredible number, right?
Well, you know, it's you can say it this way, or ask this question. Is it appealing to you, the idea to work less and make more money?
100%.
I mean, that's exactly what you're describing there. And there's a lot of ways to accomplish that in business. So that's a really tangible one. Tangible one. And what you did is, just to touch on that, what you did was you documented and measured your sales process, every step of it, every touch point of it. And you can't effectively manage what hasn't first been measured.
Correct.
So you got to start by measuring, hey, wait, we're at, you know, lead 90%, 80%, 70%, 20%. What happened there?
What happened right there?
You know?
And you don't know it until you put the system in place and you measure it. And that's the part that I never even thought of as just when I was that, sorry, I love calling it Pop-Tart agent, out there doing my thing. I just never looked at that kind of thing.
Yeah, people like me, you know.
Yeah, it's great. I'm going to sell a house. It's great. Sure. You know, another thing I'd like to talk about today is when I say business growth, you've said personal a couple times. The personal growth that I have experienced, you know, there's Simon Sinek's Start With Why. And there's Gary Keller and Jay Papasan's The One Thing. And all of those books, and there's many more like those, point you back to finding what matters most to you in life. What is your one thing? What is your why? And then building your world around your focus on getting to your why, right? And so I went through a really difficult time. A lot of our audience will know this, but in 2017, I lost 3 key important people to me in my life. Very, very important people. The last one being my only sibling, and lost him to suicide. And I was struggling for many months, and this is when I got with the current coach that I have now. He was actually head of the transformational coaching program within Keller Williams at that time. And he helped me to really drill down on, you know, because at that point in my life, it's not that my kids aren't the most important thing to me. They are personally one of my most, you know, they're my treasure and my husband. But I wasn't living for my children at that point because they were grown and married and gone. And I had to find something that gave me purpose and fulfillment. And he really, through several exercises, helped me get to the point that I realized, you know, that the whole part of serving others, growing others on our team, and giving them that life by design, not by default, the thing that was on the board in there I showed you on the wall, would make such a difference for me. And that's what helped me find fulfillment. And then as we've all been talking about a book by Sean Aker called The Happiness Advantage, that then happiness cannot be the goal. Fulfillment is the goal, and then happiness is the byproduct of the fulfillment. And through all of those exercises and things that I worked through with him, that was probably the beginning of 2018 was when our team slowly and they told us a lot in within Keller Williams, suddenly, gradually, then suddenly things happen. And it was gradual growth, and suddenly we have exploded. Right. And it's when it became most important to me as the leader of this organization to serve everybody else in our organization and help them grow and help them get to where they want to go and meet their personal goals in all facets of their lives. That's when we've just seen tremendous change, tremendous growth in just everything. And people throw the word culture around, but I believe we truly have an incredible culture. And the team built out our mission statement a couple years ago, and it's building lasting relationships through service, education, and community. And we really focus on how are we serving the community within our organization. How are we educating the community on, for example, this is the most money they may ever spend in their lives on a home, and how are we educating them around that process? And just where's our DNA showing up in everything we're doing within the community, and in a good way, in a positive way that we're impacting others.
Well, and this podcast is an example, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a give back, and it's a way to.
It is, and that's why this was so important when we started talking. Just through this, I attended a Zoom and got introduced to Jason through the community with several community leaders, finding out about this new program that's going to happen within Davidson County. And I was like, this fits right into our mission statement, because we are constantly doing we go and do a small video on different, if they're a new business in the community or an existing business, anything to shine a light on them and tell people about them, and do it live within our Facebook page within the community, the Chamber of Commerce. I'm the current president of the Northern Davidson County Chamber of Commerce. And so those opportunities allow us to help them grow within our community and be spotlighted. And when I heard about this, I was just so excited, because I'm like, this fits right in with everything we're doing, and I just knew how important coaching has been to me.
Right, and we connected after that call, I remember, and it became evident in a short amount of time that you understand the value of having those mentors or coaches in your life. And it's not about one. I'm sure you could probably name 10 off the top of your head. A couple of them are more intimate relationships and some are not, but it's the leverage point. It's the shortcut.
Yeah. And you said something when we first started about coaching, and the thing that hit me again, and I've seen it over and over, and I go back to real estate, and I apologize, but it's what I know, it's what I do.
Sure. Yeah.
There's so many people I run into in real estate, and they the couple we've been talking to, for example, I talked to for several years about how if they would be willing to dig in and learn about how to build a team and build leverage and build a business, instead of just the two of them working so hard, we could really help them. And we could help them within Keller Williams, and we could help them with the tools and get them hooked up with the right people and to grow. But at this point in their lives, it's a little late in the game to build that out. And it's hard for me to see that for them. Sometimes they're friends, and it's sometimes this could impact so many lives if someone just jumps in, takes hold, and runs with it, and learns to build that business and the leverage where they're not the one, they're building something for themselves. And you have to have that. I guess my whole point, I'm rambling, is having the mindset to do that, and really willing to learn and willing to know that you don't know all there is to know about your profession or your business, and understanding that we all have ways that we can grow, and digging into that. So.
That's right. And so I'll make this a quick example, but so I used to own an outdoor retail business, so hiking, backpacking, rock climbing gear, and clothing. So I did that for 18 years, and I had someone come in, as in Blowing Rock and Boone, our two stores. And in Blowing Rock one day, I had a family come in as two younger daughters and husband and wife. And the husband came up to the counter area and said, "Hey, we're looking for a hike. We're from Charlotte or wherever. Where can you send us that the girls can handle and this kind of thing?" And I said, "Oh, let me tell you about this hike. And there's awesome creek that you're on about half the time. And there's a little bit of a uphill walk, but it's not technical or too strenuous. And you come out to some views, actually. So there's not many hikes where you have a view and a creek walking, because usually you're at one of
we're big hikers, so I understand exactly what you're talking about.
And he said, "So how long's the trail?" And I said, 4.9 miles. And he said, "Oh, they would never do that long of a walk." And this guy's like probably 40-ish or something. And I didn't know how to respond. I'm like, the mindset is the point. The mindset is the point, and it does. So that's a young person already. There's another gentleman, 45 or so years old, and I was telling him about a hike. This is another time, and told him about this hike, and he said, "Oh, we're way too old for that." And it killed me. It killed me.
My husband's called me on that before.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we got back from a trip, and I'm on a whole aside here, but we went out to Yellowstone Glacier and the Tetons last year for 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And in that, it was about 2.5 weeks. We did 13 actual days of hiking, and in those 13 days, we did I think it was 113 miles, and we did thousands and thousands of feet of elevation change. We went out to a glacier that hike was an all-day hike, and it killed me, and it was really about 13 or 16 miles.
Did you say Glacier National Park?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did
awesome
that.
Place, yeah.
And often leading up to that, Kevin was talking about that hike, and I said, "I don't really think even though we've done all this work, I don't know that I'm too old. We may be past that." And he's like, "No, that's just and he said to me, "It's your mindset. Right. You can do anything you want to do."
That's right.
And it was interesting. I saw people 20 years older than us, like teenagers, hiking out of there. Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's mindset, and so you choose that in life. You choose that in life, and I mean, you can be 70 and start a new business, and you can choose to have the energy that it takes to do that.
That's right.
I believe.
Right.
When I'm 70, I'll confirm that for myself. But I'm 43 or 44 almost, and so I'm starting to get there, and stuff's changing a little bit. I can't eat too late at night anymore, these kind of things. But I just firmly believe it's all in here. And the more I learn, because I'm a coach, and a great coach has a great coach. Mm-hmm. So I've had multiple amazing world-class coaches over the years. And the one I've been working with most recently he's a mindset coach. Mm-hmm. And it has opened up. So I had a friend almost to the day a year ago take his life. Very close friend. And man, it threw me for a loop. It does.
It will throw you for
a loop. Threw me for a loop, just like I'm sure it did you. And this mindset work needed to happen anyway, but particularly with this timing, I was just in this mental funk for a long time.
I know exactly where you were.
And was able to work through that and past it, and then all of the rest, gradually and then suddenly. Mm-hmm. And all these opportunities in the last 2 or 3 months have just been. Mm-hmm. But you got to put in the work, and you got to put it in the intention.
Right.
And back it up with action.
Right. Well, I want to talk just a little about what this program is that's being offered to the community. Yeah. So it's through the Davidson-Davie Community College Small Business Center partnership. Martha Lawson is the director, and she has maybe you can talk to me about the funding for Entregrowth. Is that right? Yeah. And talk a little bit about the program.
Absolutely. So I've known Martha Larson for I don't know, 5 years now, and we're always, just it seems like every 2 or 3 months we'd get together and come up with some ideas on how we can serve the community together. And I'm always looking for opportunities to educate people, and if they choose to do something with coaching, that's great. But the purpose is to educate and provide value. So that's her task, and that's my task, and we just perfectly align with that. So during the pandemic, she reached out in May of 2020, and they had some funding come through that year to help, specifically through the Small Business Center Network in North Carolina, to help small businesses thrive despite the pandemic challenges.
Right.
And Martha and I connected on that, and we ended up serving, I think it might have been 20 or 21 businesses with coaching that was grant funded from the state and for her community college. And then we worked with 3 or maybe even 4 other community colleges that year because they heard about what we were doing with Martha.
Right.
So that established just a whole nother depth and level of rapport and trust, and results. And Martha and I were talking about, it's probably November last year, and I shared with her an idea about putting together a customized program that would be focused heavily on education, but then at the end of that program, there would be one-on-one coaching time where we can take this education and then put it in a one-to-one session with each participant. Sit down and look at how do we take what's most relevant about what we just learned and put an action plan together for your specific business. Right. Because when it comes down to the fundamentals of business, every business is the same, and then everything's completely different. Right. So the education is the education. That's the foundation. But then what do we do about it? That's usually where things get lost in translation. We know there's 837 things I need to do in my business. What do I do this week is the hardest question to answer usually.
What's your 20%?
Yeah. And the one thing, that book, I ask myself that question frequently. What's the one thing that I could do in my business today that would make everything else easier and or unnecessary?
Correct.
Right?
That's one of my favorites.
It's great. That's an awesome book, by the way. And so this program is 8 weeks. So we didn't want to make this some drawn out year-long thing because people's time, we want to respect that. It's 8-week massive shot in the arm for education and perspective in business. A lot of the things people who participate have heard of before or have understood before, but it's the perspective and the way we approach it that's going to be what's unique and useful. And then it's going to be followed up with a one-on-one time with the coach to talk about how do we leverage that specifically into your business, which is really the icing on the cake. Because one is got no value without the other. The education has no value without action. And so this program, Entree Grow, is brand new. It's you asked about grant funding, so this is a roundabout way of getting there. So.
No, I was just very excited that they could get into this at such a low entry point.
So typically this is like a $1,500 or $2,000 investment to get this education from Action Coach, how we provide it. So what we have come up with is this program and this education is grant funded through NC IDEA, which is through the state. And so we're collaborating with DDCC, Martha Larson and the Small Business Center. We're collaborating with NC IDEA, and we're collaborating with Venture Ashboro. Jonathan Thill at Venture Ashboro is going to play a role in a couple of the sessions. And an Action Coach. So some pretty cool things can happen when you get like interests aligned and collaborate. And that's something I feel like I'm pretty strong at is, hey, you do this really well, you do this really well, why don't we get together and start a band, So that's what's happened pretty successfully with this. This program is $100. $100. So all we want is for people to make a commitment to themselves. That's what the $100 is about. And actually...
well, if you said it was free, people wouldn't come. Or they might come to the first one and then they're like, well, you know, I don't have time today. I'm not going to jump on that call. And when you've paid something in, you want to get something for that investment. Right. But it would be my hope, and I know it's yours, that they will see the value right from the get-go and how much it can serve their businesses.
And our focus is, like in that follow-up one-to-one session, the focus is going to be the next 90 days. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be some pie-in-the-sky action plan.
It's like the 12-week book. You familiar with that book?
Yep.
Love that book.
It's been a while, but I have. Next 90 days, because that's really what we can affect right now.
Right.
You know, a year, 2 years, 5 years, it starts to get fuzzier and fuzzier. Right. But as long as we do what's most relevant now, having the longer term goals in mind for GPS coordinate, then things happen.
That's right.
And you get to where you want to go.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. So how many of you want to get to where you want to go? We can hook you up here and let's talk to Jason or let's talk to Martha. Reach out to us. My number is 336-816-7818, or they can contact you.
Yeah, you can call or text me, 828-234-8848. And the landing page that's got information and where you can apply for EntreGrow is entregrow.org. And that's EntreGrow.org. So yeah, reach out and happy to have a chat. If you want to learn a little bit more about what's going to be happening in addition to what the landing page shares, reach out and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So we hope you'll take advantage of this opportunity within the community, those of you within your small businesses or businesses that are interested. And thank you again for joining us, Jason. I hope this has been good for you as well as
absolutely, yeah. It's always fun.
This is going to be great for the community. So thanks again. We're excited. And you guys join us next time. Thank you.